Welcome back to the tutorial course on Android app development. In this lecture, we will discuss the basic view components such as image view, checkbox, switch, and progress bar. There are basic view components or UI controls that we use in an Android application. Image view, checkbox, switch, and progress bar. We will learn each view component in detail. On the next slide, we will learn how to create a sample fragment in our application. In Android Studio, create a sample fragment named Control Fragment inside our Weather app. Now, let's create a fragment named Control Fragment and load this fragment inside the Home Activity class. We have added Control Fragment in the Home Activity class. On the next slide, we will learn how to add the UI widgets in Control Fragment. Image View is a UI widget that can load and display images. Image View can load images from various sources such as resources or content providers. We will first create Image View in our application. We will use the Control Fragment class that we created on the previous slide. When the fragment control.xml file is created, a text view is created simultaneously. We will change the text attributes to control screen. There are two methods in which we can create any UI widget. Using the first method, we add a control in the XML file. Using the second method, we can add any control by dragging a control from the left pane, which has all the controls listed, and adding it to the screen in the design view. Let's now drag an image view and add it to the design view. When we check the XML file, the control is automatically added to the XML file. We will now add an image to our resources. If an Android application supports different resolutions, we need to create different images for all the resolutions and add them to the corresponding folder. We have different resolutions such as ASLDPI, MDPI, HDPI, XHDPI, XXHDPI, and XXXHDPI. However, due to poor resolutions, the LDPI and MDPI resolutions are no longer supported. If we need them to be supported, we need to create images with both the resolutions and add them to their respective folders. Now, we need to create different drawable folders for the resolutions such as HDPI, XHDPI, and XXHDPI. In Android Studio, we need to add the drawable directories for images in the res/drawable/directory. We now add an image with the XXHDPI resolution to the drawable XXHDPI directory. In Image View, we will set this image as the background by adding a background attribute and the required image. After adding the required image, we can see the image in the design view. We can also assign various attributes such as gravity. In this example, we assign the center horizontal value to the gravity attribute. We should be able to see the desired results in the design view. On the next slide, we will learn about the checkbox widget. A checkbox has two states, checked or unchecked. Let's learn the usage of a checkbox. In Android Studio, drag a checkbox to the fragment control.xml file and set the various attributes, such as text. We will now verify the checkbox in the design view. We will continue learning about checkbox. First, we need to create a checkbox object and image view. Then, we need to access the elements from the resource file. Now we add the check change listener for the checkbox to get the checkbox status. When we add this listener, we will get the status whether the checkbox is checked in a Boolean variable. Then, we can show or hide the image according to the checkbox status. If the Boolean variable inside the listener is true, the checkbox is checked and we need to show the image by setting its visibility to true. If the Boolean variable is false, the checkbox is unchecked and we need to hide the image. Now, let's run the application. As a result, the checkbox is checked and the image is displayed. We will now uncheck the checkbox. As a result, the image is no longer visible. We again check the checkbox and the image is displayed. We are able to display and hide the image according to the checkbox status. Next, we will learn how to work with the switch widget. A switch is a two-state toggle switch widget that can select between the on and off states. The user may drag the thumb back and forth to select the option. We will now drag a switch control to our XML file. The switch control is now added to the XML file. It has a similar functionality such as the checkbox control. On the next slide, we will learn how to access the switch status using the application code. First, we need to create an object of the switch control. We will now be able to access the switch control from the XML file. We then add the check change listener of the switch to get the on or off status of the switch. After we add the listener, we can get the switch status in a Boolean similar to the status we got in the case of checkbox control. In order to set the switch status, we need to use the setCheck method to turn it on or off. We can also show a toast message while we are clicking the switch. In this case, we need to add a toast message inside that listener to know the switch status. Let's now run the app. As expected, it shows the switch control. We set the switch to the on state. It displays a toast message stating switch is on. When we turn the switch off, it toasts a message stating switch is off. Now, let's learn about progress bar on the next slide. Progress bar is a visual indicator of the progress of any operation that takes place inside an app. An application can change the level of progress as it moves forward by modifying the length of the bar. Normally, we use this control in our application to know the progress of an operation, such as the download of a file. Now, we will add this control to our XML file. Drag a progress bar widget to the screen in the design view. There are two types of progress bars available. The first is a horizontal progress bar that displays the progress in a horizontal bar. The second is a circular progress bar, which is available in three different sizes: small, normal, and large. We will use the horizontal progress bar in our application. Let's add a horizontal progress bar in our app. We will use the Android Max attribute to set the maximum value of the progress. In this case, we set the maximum value as 100. We will also set the minimum height and width for the progress bar. The Android Min Height attribute sets the height for the progress bar. The Android Min Width attribute sets the width of the progress bar. In this case, we set the required width and height of the progress bar. We also set the Android Progress attribute to set the number in which the progress bar value will be incremented. We set this value as 1. We create a progress bar and update the value of this progress bar inside a thread. We put the thread sleep for 200 milliseconds after we start to increment the value to show the progress gradually. We will now create a progress bar object and access it from the XML file. We create a progress bar object and access the instance from the XML file. Then, we create a text view named Progress View to show the progress value to the user. Next, we create an integer value named Progress Status to increment the progress value. Later, we create a thread and add the while loop to check whether the progress status value reached its maximum limit. In this case, we have set the maximum limit to 100. We then increment the progress status value by 1 to check whether it has reached the value of 100. After incrementing the value by 1, we set the progress status value to the progress bar object and update the progress in the text view. We then wait for the thread for 200 milliseconds to see the progress. This brings us to the end of our discussion on basic view components.